Welcome into Chatterbox Sports. We're going to react to the top 25 toughest places to play in EA College Football 25. No Nippert on the list, Elliot.
No Nippert, not yet. But once Scott Satterfield brings the program all the way back, then they'll be on the list. That's a guarantee.
This list has a lot of people up in arms on Twitter. A lot of people that they don't think should be as high as they are. A lot of teams left off the list that people think belong on it. What sticks out most to you guys looking at this list initially?
For me personally, it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame should be nowhere near the top 25 and the toughest places to play. I've been to Notre Dame Stadium. I've seen it. They're not in a conference. No fear there. And also the fans, listen, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they're all very nice people. They're men of faith. They're men and women of faith. And they go down there and they're like all old people.
I respect my elders.
They're all old people at Notre Dame. All of them. So, no, this is not a tough place to play. Not intimidating at all.
Coming in at 21st, Notre Dame. Jimmy, Notre Dame shirt on your chest right now. How does it make you feel?
I mean, I get it may not be the Penn State or the Georgia or those high-level programs
the good schools
that have crazy atmospheres. But at the end of the day, it is one of the best places to play in college football.
No, but the list isn't best places to play. If it was best places to play, sure, Notre Dame would be on the list.
And the team is good almost every single year. So it's good.
Well, they're good comparatively.
It's going to be a hard place to win.
Easier schedule when you don't have a conference.
It's going to be a hard place to win.
Yeah, I just don't understand how Notre Dame being like 21. You're telling me there's 20 places tougher to play than Notre Dame Stadium?
I think there's like 50.
I disagree.
I think 20. I think 20 is easy.
I mean, who has a higher winning percentage than Notre Dame in the last? There's like the list is very short on teams that have a better winning percentage over the last 10 years.
I think that's the disconnect, though. Being a great team and being a great place to play, I think, are two completely different things. I think you can be a bad team and still have a tough place to play.
Do you think that then there are like places are there any noticeable people that didn't make this list or stadiums that didn't make this list that you think should make the list?
I think Washington not being on there is a little bit weird. Washington has sold out a bunch of games lately, especially the last couple of years when they've been really relevant. The big name that stuck out to me not being on this list is Nebraska. Nebraska's sold out every game for about a decade now. They have the biggest crowd and one of the biggest fan bases in all of college football. I understand that they don't win a whole lot of games, but that is one of the toughest places to play in the entire country.
What do you mean this is the toughest place to play? Like, see that's where my disconnect is because you're saying this is the toughest place they don't win.
Because the team's not good.
It's just they have fans who have nothing else to do in the middle of Nebraska than go to a football game on a Saturday.
So
right.
How is that tough to play in? If you know you're going there and you're going to win the game, that's not tough at all.
I think the environment with fans is what determines the toughness of the environment. We're not ranking if it's tough to beat Nebraska. We're ranking if the stadium is a top 25 place to play in college football, and I think it is.
No, we're not ranking if it's a top 25. We're ranking
how hard it is
place
to play.
To win at. Toughest place to play a football game at. And I'm sorry to tell you that 3-win Nebraska ain't moving the needle anymore. This ain't 1994 anymore.
I would certainly have them in my top 25, probably in my top 20, maybe pushing top 15 for toughest stadiums in college football. Of the Big Ten teams on here, Michigan is the lowest, or I guess Iowa's the lowest at 20, Michigan at 16. You have Wisconsin at 7, Penn State at 6, Ohio State at 4. I think Nebraska falls right in between Michigan and Iowa for me.
Okay, how do we go about talking about Kyle Field, Texas A&M? Like, that can't be the hardest place to play in college football.
It's tough.
I'm not saying it
certainly belongs on the list.
I'm just saying it's not one.
It's not one. I 100% agree.
Yeah, they've got the cheerleaders, the cheer. What do they call it?
The yell leaders.
The yell leaders. The yell leaders.
The cult leaders.
That doesn't bring any fear into my eyes when I'm listen, I'm no college athlete. But if I were and I saw a bunch of weirdos doing weird chants, I'd be scared a little bit, I guess. Maybe. Probably not, though. Yeah, it shouldn't be anywhere near it. By the way, we were talking about Nebraska, ranks 14th in largest stadium in college athletics, 85,000. And it does sell out every single time.
Once again, that doesn't make it tough. I mean, I could play kindergartners, and they can pick the field and have 20 million people come and watch us play. I'm still balling on them. That's not.
I still think it'd be a tough place to play.
You would be scared. You would be scared.
Playing kindergartners in an empty field is exponentially easier than against 20 million fans.
100% it is.
It doesn't matter if it's easy to win, though. It's not a tough place to win. No one's fearing going to Nebraska. No one circles that game and goes, oh, man, we got a tough one this week. We got Nebraska. We got the old Cornhuskers. Go Cornhuskers, whatever their Girl Scout thing is over here. And certainly no one's afraid of Texas A&M because they know regardless of who their coach is, he's going to be gone in 2 years.
People are certainly scared to go play in Kyle Field, to play A&M.
Not more so than going to Alabama. Not more so than
I think Kyle Field belongs
above
Bryant Denny for sure. Kyle Field belongs above Bryant Denny, Alabama for sure. I would have Ohio State, LSU, Samford, Penn State above Kyle Field and Alabama, if I'm going to be completely honest.
So you are telling me, because I think we're getting to the definitions of toughest at this point. You're telling me that people are more scared, coaches, opposing fans are more scared of playing the Texas A&M Aggies at Kyle Field than they are going to Alabama, the University of Alabama.
The rosters and coaches and players don't matter to me. It's the stadium and the atmosphere. That's what we're ranking.
I think it does matter because guess who plays in that stadium? The team. So that's a tough place to play the game. You're not playing the fans. You're playing the team.
That's what this is ranking. You're ranking the toughest atmosphere, not the toughest team to play against. If you wanted to do the toughest team to play against, Michigan won the national championship. Let's put them at 1.
I'm cool with putting Big House at number 1.
Big House comes in at 16.
If you can't hear the play calls because there's 90,000 Nebraska people who quite literally every week is their Super Bowl when they go to one of these games, that's definitely harder than when you go to Oxford, Ohio, and there's 45 people in the
Virginia Tech's in here at 17, which to me is very low. I would have them higher. And Virginia Tech's not a competitive football team.
Yeah, I would have Virginia Tech out of it either because I'm
Virginia Tech outside the top 25.
If I'm a football fan of a team that's going to play a football game at Virginia Tech, I am not worried about my team not playing their best game there. I'm not worried about anything because guess what? I know we're going to go play Nebraska. We're going to win. I know we're going to go play Virginia Tech. We're going to win. I don't think those places strike fear into the eyes of the players. They're not seeing – the wide receivers aren't seeing their routes and the line's getting all squiggly.
Ohio State went to Virginia Tech and lost the year they won the national championship. It's one of the hardest places to play in the country.
Well, yeah, Ohio State stinks.
All right. Other teams on here that stick out as a little bit weird to me, Utah at 18. Utah obviously has been a competitive team for many years, but for them to be top 20 was a little bit of a shock to me. Autzen at 11. I thought Oregon would certainly be top 10. That stadium has been rocking for well over a decade now as one of the marquee places to play. And then obviously Clemson has fallen off here in the last couple of years, but Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina is one of the best in the entire ACC. Here it has them second or third in the ACC on this list. That one stuck out to me as well.
15th in capacity in Clemson, 81,500 people as well.
The worst team in the top 10, probably Wisconsin out of the teams in the top 10. But Camp Randall, again, certainly belongs there. I think that stadium with jump around and the way those fans react to all the games and everything, I think that earned its spot. Every other stadium on here.
What about Florida? They stink.
I think you ever been to the Swamp?
No.
Swamp is unbelievable.
I was going to say the Swamp. I
Unbelievable.
feel like the Swamp. Like you get a little scared when you go to the Swamp.
Unbelievable.
I believe you still get a little scared even when you're playing at Florida State. Yeah. I believe you're still a little scared when you're playing at these. As a football fan, I don't fear a team going into Camp Randall Stadium. I don't fear that.
As a fan of a Big Ten team, I do.
Every
time Ohio State plays at Wisconsin, I get
certainly going to Notre Dame over Camp Randall.
Not even close, atmosphere-wise. Team-wise, for sure. If Notre Dame played in a stadium like Camp Randall, it might be number 1 on this list.
That's right.
But instead, they're 21.
Because their stadium is not the same atmosphere as Camp Randall.
See, it's toughest places to play.
With
Part
the
of
atmosphere.
playing is the game, brother.
This whole ranking, if we're going to talk about what this ranking actually is for, it's how tough the stadium is on the meter in the game, regardless of the roster, how tough the stadium and fans are to affect the gameplay. So it really doesn't have anything to do with the roster.
If you could change one thing to this list, what would you change?
I'd have Ohio State 1.
I'd put Nippert Stadium
That's ridiculous.
1. Nippert? Nipper would be in your top 25 at 1.
Does Beaver Stadium whiteout go higher? Like if it was exclusive,
yes, it does.
Is that number 1?
I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but that was apparently the whiteout did bump up their in the gameplay trailer. The whiteout bumped up their meter, which is pretty cool.
But who's gonna play at Penn State with the game not in a whiteout? You know,
if you play a Penn State franchise, it would be 11 out of the 12 weeks.
I guess, but I don't know. I just think that Penn State is probably number 1 when I'm thinking
Penn State's
about
great
atmosphere and college football.
Penn State, terrible record in whiteout games.
True, that is true.
So are they
But
tough
it's still
to play?
sick.
Yes.
So is it tough to play?
Yes.
Is a whiteout game tough to play if they just stink winning those
Michigan
games?
had to call a timeout before the first snap of the game.
See, I guess I'm just not buying that. If your place is tough to play at,
You're
if
not
it's
buying
loud,
if you can't hear the play calls.
I'm not buying that if it gets loud or whatever you want to hang your hat on.
That's what this is.
That's what it is.
That's
But,
the
like, it's
definition
not
of it.
I'm taking the toughest places to play.
So you're taking the
We're
top.
taking the best team.
You're taking the top 25 teams. Is what you want.
No, I want like
That is what
yeah.
you want. Because the definition of the toughest place to play is how
the
loud
best
it
team.
gets.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day is how tough are you to beat on that field at your home field.
Yeah, that's that's not what I took these rankings as.
And that's not what they made.
That's
it
not
as.
what they're supposed to be.
Okay, well, when I see toughest places to play, and I see Camp Randall Stadium, and I see Virginia Tech, and I see Notre Dame at 21, I just have a feeling that fans knowing going into Notre Dame Stadium, it's going to be a tougher place to play than Camp Randall.
Tougher team to play. Yes. Tougher place to play. No way.
Tougher place to come out with a win. Now, the toughest place is West Lafayette on a Saturday night. Am I right?
That is true. That is 100% true. Purdue should absolutely be in this top 25.
I agree.
And maybe Iowa. Oh, I guess Iowa is. So
Iowa is.
all the teams that beat Ohio State get in the top 25.
I was kind of surprised that Boise was on there.
Blue turf.
Blue turf.
But
The birds are going to come down.
If we're gonna pander pick to
'Cause they think
NCAA
it's water.
football video game players by putting the blue turf in the top 25, where's the Kibbe Dome?
yeah,
I agree.
Give me Idaho. Where's the Kibbe Dome? That's the best stadium in all of college football.
Also, fun fact, Virginia Tech has had one winning season in the last decade.
Yeah, and it's still one of the toughest places to play in college football. Imagine if they were good.
Seems like it.
Imagine
The
if they
wins
were good.
Piling up.
I got a crazy video to show you of them
It's just-
singing Enter Sandman.
yes, that's what I was going to say. All the people can talk about when they talk about Lane Stadium is Enter Sandman, and that is
They do
before
it
the
every
game
game.
even starts.
They do it every game.
It's
You talk
before-
about Ohio State, you talk about the Script Ohio, you talk about Brian Denny, you talk about Dixieland Delight, you talk
Well,
about
I'll
Notre
tell
Dame, you
what,
talk about the
if I ever
Golden
become
Dome
the
outside the
president
stadium.
of a university or the director of athletics for a football team or something like that, I'm gonna bring a full circus out every game. We're gonna have elephants. We're gonna have lions jumping through flaming hoops, and people are gonna be like, that place is tough to play. We go 0-12 every year, but man, oh man, do you see that circus act they got going? They got elephants eating peanuts.
Yeah,
I just think there's a distinct difference between requiring the team to be good and calling it a tough place to play.
I don't know. I think Ohio State was probably a little bit nervous to go play at Notre Dame than they were to play at Camp
Right?
Randall.
I disagree. Stadiums, rosters, I agree.
Color me old-fashioned, but when I see toughest places to play, I think that the game should be hard to play then. And I think the game should be hard to win. And when Virginia Tech has one winning season in a decade, it doesn't seem that tough to play.
I think the biggest difference would be, I guess a way to explain it would be, the difference between the team on the road and the team at home. I think these are the biggest differences. Like, Virginia Tech on the road is much worse than Virginia Tech at home, even if Virginia Tech isn't very good at home. You see what I mean? These teams get massive boosts from playing at home because these stadiums provide such a massive swing.
All right, fair enough. Wrap this thing up, Jacob.
That's top 25 toughest places to play in college football. Reed wants the top 25 best teams. These are the top 25 best stadiums. We'll see what happens in this game late July.